What happened could have been avoided. What happened could be mended, should be mended, would probably be mended at a point.
I think he's just a snake and he's just going to act all, like he's going to make people pity him as usual, act like a saint, and it's not going to be genuine. So there's no point. And really, there's no relevance.
Hey Bethans, what's up and welcome back to my channel. My name is Austin Betha and I'm really glad to have you here. Please do hit the subscribe button before you leave. And also give this video a very thumbs up if you enjoyed watching it. Okay guys, I know that your ears are itchy. Oh, what does Betha have to say about today's episode? You know, the whole Laycon and Erica thing. Bash, see, relax. At the end of this video, I'm going to tell you what I honestly think about today's episode. Okay? Now, let's just get straight to what was discussed. And the first on the list was the whole issue between Wathoni and Erica. You know, Ebuka was really interested in knowing what it was both of them are dragging. Like, waiting make una know they talk, you know, since one come up for the house and all of that. And for Wathoni, she kind of explained to us that the issues she remembers having with Erica were the ones that happened in the house. And upon her being evicted from the show and all of that, Erica hugged her and said, thank God we settled whatever it was that was going on between the both of us. And, you know, for her, she doesn't really understand the attitude Erica has been giving her, because the major thing she actually referenced was the whole truth or dare issue with Kidwire, you know, where she kissed Kidwire, and she made it clear today once again, just in case you guys have not been hearing her, she's older than Kidwire and Kidwire cannot afford her. And then Erica was like, he cannot afford you, like, are you for sale? I'm like, hey, well, that one self enter. But yeah, moving on guys, they actually talked about the whole thing, and Wathoni kept on saying, oh, after she hugged me and said, oh, thank God we settled it, I didn't go back and forth saying trash about her. In fact, when people asked me about her, I just kept on saying we're in a good place and all of that. And then for Erica, she's like, oh yes, I know I hugged you and I know that I told you when you were leaving that thank God we solved our issues. But then again, I came out and I saw an interview you granted when they had asked you about Erica and Kidwire, and you're like, oh, some things went down under the sheet, you know, implying that they had sex on national TV and all of that. And for Wathoni, she actually owned up to the fact that she said that, but she also mentioned that it was just once and that was because she was asked. But it's not like she deliberately went there to say, oh, I'm going to say this thing about Erica. After all, if she had anything against Erica, she wouldn't have invited Erica to her book launch and all of that, you know, because she actually invited Erica. And for Erica, it's like, look, you don't have to always make everything about me and Kid. Any small thing you say me and Kid. This is about your attitude towards me and the energy I'm getting from you. So it's not about Kid. You don't have to bring Kid into it. Kid is not that important in this conversation and all of that. But after the whole back and forth, Wathoni apologized to Erica and Erica did the same. You know, she apologized to Wathoni and Wathoni was like hug, and of course both of them stood up, you know, walked up, they met at a point and hugged one another. For me, that was really sweet. Okay, like it was just give it to us as the hot and then make up. There was really no need to over drag the whole matter, because again, it don't want to take, you know. So it was really nice for me to see both of them hugging themselves and just letting bygones be bygones. Okay, now we moved on to the whole Erica and V situation. Of course, you guys remember that Erica and V, they're like this, okay, and we all know why, Laycon, you know. So Ebuka really wanted to know what it was that was going on between Erica and V, and you know where they're at right now. And for Erica, she's like, I don't care about V, I don't know V, look, I don't care about her, I don't want to know anything about her, we were never friends and all of that stuff. Because for her, V said a lot of things about her, you know, with Laycon and all of that. V said a lot of things about her, and you know guys, we cannot even lie about that. V said a lot, okay, a lot. And you know, for Erica, it's like, look, I even came out of the house and I'm seeing clips where she's saying, oh, Jazz one thing, or even if Erica breaks a leg, she doesn't care. And for her, it doesn't really make sense trying to now be friends with someone who had said such things about you. So it's not a case of, you know, oh, I don't want to talk to this person. It's a case of, I don't care about you, I don't know you, you know, and that's it. Now when Ebuka asked V, the first thing she said was that she's a very defensive friend. I mean, if she's your friend, she's going to go all out for you, and that was the case between her and Laycon. And she actually made reference to the Sunday where Ebuka had asked her a question, you know, about Erica and Laycon, where she had said stuff like, oh, she cares more about Laycon than Erica. And she's like, maybe it's a comprehension issue, because the meaning of what she said was that she actually cared more about Laycon than Erica, and that was the fact. You know, there was really no hard feelings and everything. And she actually mentioned today that after that particular live show, she walked up to Erica and told Erica that it wasn't anything personal. You know, for her, she was just trying to defend her friend. She was just being there for her friend. Like, she actually went up to her to explain. And then it almost seemed like the next Sunday when Ebuka asked Erica a question about her and Neo, that's V and Neo, Erica's response came off as, oh, this is tit for tat, now I'm paying you back in your own coin. So for her, she doesn't also care about Erica, you know, they're not friends, she doesn't care, you know, both of them don't actually care. Okay, so that's the cocoa of the matter. Nobody send anybody, and both of them are living their best life. Nobody is going out of their way to insult one another, so we cannot live with that, right? Now, when Ebuka asked T-Badge what her thought was on the whole Erica and V situation, she's like, both of them are adults. Like, if they want to settle, they will settle, but it's obvious that none of them actually wants to do that. You know, they are cool where they're at, and they're allowed to feel whatever way they feel about each other. Now it was time for the whole Erica and Laycon saga, and Ebuka wanted to know if Erica had ever tried to reach out to Laycon upon coming out of the house. Like, has there been any trial for you to just sort out whatever it was? And for Erica, it's a case of, I came out of the house and I just went back to be myself. For her, she doesn't make friends that easily, and you know, coming out of the house was more like she just had to go back to being herself, and being herself actually means going back to her friends that she had known for a longer period of time, you know. And she didn't see the need to reach out to Laycon because obviously he said a lot of things about her. You know, she had watched a lot of clips where he had said stuff, you know, where he had conversations with V and other housemates and all of that, and for her, she just did not see the need. Like, there's no point. In her words, she actually thinks Laycon is a snake and a pretender. You know, for her, she feels like there's nothing Laycon will say now, there's nothing will open his mouth and tell her now that she's going to believe, so she didn't really see the point of, you know, going back and forth with the whole situation. Now Ebuka went to Laycon, like, can you tell us your own side of the story? And he's like, well, for him, coming out of the house, he's just been focused on his music. Okay, so this one has been focused on the music, the other one has been focused on movies. So M square, there's really nothing we can do about it. You know, for him, it's like, oh, I've just been really focused on my music, and it would be very disrespectful for me to start dragging back my fans to something that, you know, they've left behind. For him, what is more important right now is them streaming his songs and just pushing his music instead of going back and forth with the whole, you know, Erica and Laycon situation. At some point, Erica was like, Laycon, stop pretending, stop acting like a saint, stop acting like a saint, so that people will now start pitying you again and say, oh, they want to vote for you, or oh, they want to do this. You need to stop pretending. Own it. You don't like me, I don't like you, we don't want to talk to one another, so stop acting as if, oh, you know, you are this or you are that. Oh, you made a video one time where you were saying, if I had the chance to say something to Erica, I'll tell her she's smart, she's this, she's that. Uncle, why couldn't you call me to say those things? We're on the same WhatsApp group. Why didn't you call me to say all of these things? And Ebuka was like, Erica, first of all, you just said now that you don't even see the point of you guys, you know, sorting out anything or whatever. So now that you're saying he should have called you, if he had called you, would you have picked up? And she's like, she wouldn't have picked up. That maybe if he had sent a text, you know, then if she had read it and it made sense to her, then maybe she would have given a response. And for Laycon, it's like, for him, it's actually weary of, you know, just sending a text message and it being misinterpreted or misunderstood. So for him, sending a text message wasn't a smart move. Now, according to Laycon, when Ebuka asked him if he thinks that the whole situation, you know, could be resolved, the first thing he said was that the whole Erica and Laycon situation could have been avoided. Like, the whole drama that happened that night could have been avoided. He also went on to say that the whole situation can be mended, should be mended, and would probably be mended in the future. So for him, there's room for them to settle whatever it is that's going on between them. But for Erica, she's like, no, like, she doesn't think they should even solve anything because she doesn't trust him, she doesn't do this. And if you ask me, I think both of them are actually entitled to their thoughts, their opinions as to the best way to resolve whatever issues. You know, I know I used to clamor for them to settle and just find common grounds, but at a time like this, I don't even know what I think anymore, because this person thinks that there's room for them to settle, this other person thinks that there's really no need because there's nothing he's going to say that she's going to believe and all of that stuff. And there was a point when they asked Hidwaya what he thought about the whole Laycon and Erica situation, and I was like, for Erica, she's been focusing on her career, you know, she's not had time to like start talking about other people and stuff like that. And for him, that is still very early, you know, there's room in the future for, you know, both of them to try to settle whatever it is, because clearly both of them are not ready to handle it, and both of them are clearly very busy with their different career paths and everything, you know. So for Kid, there's time, you know, in the future for them to try to settle it if they're ready to actually settle it. Laycon also mentioned the part where when he came out of the house, people handling the social media page told him that, you know, they had followed Erica and clearly he was blocked, and they actually tried 3 times and those 3 times proved abortive. And he also mentioned that the video Erica did where she was apologizing and all of that, that he has not watched it. And Erica is like, okay, but may I watch the video where you were saying rubbish about me, Sha? You know, she just wanted to point that out, like, okay, if you did not watch my own, may I watch your own? And Erica actually went on to tell us that every time she thinks about about the statement she made where she was saying, oh, Laycon is the only person that has my back in the house, he's like my best friend in the house, that thinking about it makes her feel stupid, because coming out of the house she now realized that, oh, this guy that I thought had my back and everything actually said a lot of things about me and all of that. And she's like, okay, you know what, I take my apologies back, I take this back and all of that. You know, everybody should just be on their lane. There was actually no final say on the whole situation, so I don't know where they're at, and you know, I don't even know how I feel about this episode, to be honest. I feel like it was dry, you know. I feel like this episode was quite overhyped, and I know I asked this question earlier today, that I hope that this episode that they've been shouting since this basketballs, I hope it is not being overhyped. And to be honest, in my opinion, today's episode was it was dry. And I just also felt at some point that Laycon was just holding back a lot of words. Like, he had things he wanted to say and he was just holding it back, you know, trying to be very conscious. I know it's okay to be conscious, but at a point like this, you guys need to just bear it all out and say your mind. If you're going to be friends, be friends. If you're not going to be friends, we move. Do you understand? I'm not saying you guys have to agree with me. We all know that Laycon is someone who, before he says something, he tries to think about it. But I'm just saying that he's had the chance to think about all of these things before now. So you should have just gotten your words ready and just say what you have in your mind. I'm actually pissed this night, okay? Nah, I don't really understand the episode. Anyways, moving forward, there was a whole conversation about the fan talk. Oh, do you think fans control you guys a lot? Do you think fans bring a lot of toxic energy to your relationships among one another and all of that? You know, they had that conversation. Some people felt like, oh yes, it's true that the fans have power over them. People like Watoni, because Watoni mentioned that there was a time when she would like Prince's post and Dorothy's post, and people kept on telling her, oh, why are you liking these people's posts? They don't like yours back, they don't comment on yours and stuff like that. And because of that singular reason, she decided to stop, because they were calling her an olodo and she didn't want to be an olodo, so she stopped. So she actually admitted that yes, sometimes fans actually control them, while people like V doesn't care. V says she doesn't care about what people say on the internet. You know, she's just focused on her career, focused on herself. For example, she and Ozo, people are still holding on to what she said to Nengi that night where Ozo completely ignored Nengi, you know, where she was like, oh, don't worry, leave the guy, he's a fuckboy, he's this and that. People are still holding on to that, whereas she and Ozo are in a good place, they are friends. So for her, it doesn't really mean so much to her. But for someone like Tolani Badge, obviously she lives on the internet, if we're going to be fair. You know, for her sometimes it's cruise. For her, she's learned to, you know, hold back sometimes when there's a need to hold back, and there's also a time for her to give them back, you know. And when that time comes, she just gives it to them, basketballs, like heads on, like let's get it right. I'm T-Badge, you cannot talk to me like this, you cannot talk to me like that, you know. After they talked about the whole fan thing, now there was a question from a fan that was directed at Bright. Oh, when you say pressure, apply pressure, what do you mean? And for Brighto, it's simple. In everything you want to achieve in life, you need to apply pressure. That's what he said. You know, you need to apply pressure to achieve anything you want. Now, Ebuka now went on to give us a speech, you know, more like, oh, there's a lot of negativity with the Big Brother Naija fans, and people just think that they're very toxic and that we should do better. You know, for him, it's quite disturbing that a big platform such as this, you know, Big Brother, you know, people associate it with hate and just a lot of negative vibe. You know, that for him, he feels like they can do better, and he just appeals to everybody, including you and I, to do better, because again, there's really no need for all this back and forth. And you know, he just gave us that final speech, and that was it on today's episode. Guys, let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section. Okay, let's have a conversation. What do you think about tonight's episode? I know that elites are here, I know that icons are here, but let's just comment with sense, because there's no need for the back and forth. Ebuka has already said it. So if your comment sounds like, oh, better, I need to attack you because you said this, I'm sorry, you're not going to see me tonight, because I will not be there to respond. Okay, thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please don't forget to give me a very big thumbs up, subscribe to my channel if you haven't subscribed, and like always, I would have another video come up tomorrow where we'll talk more on some of the things that happened tonight. Of course, by that time I would have heard from you guys, you know, through the comments, and would have another conversation. Until then, be good, take care of yourself, and I would see you guys tomorrow. Bye guys.